It's a common sense recap of the big stories. It's Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC.
Well, so many spies in Albany, in Washington, all over the place. Senator Feinstein had her driver for 10 years driving her, and she heard every secret the senator had to say on the telephone. Well, in the Hochul committee, they had another Chinese spy, and also she worked for Cuomo. With us in the studio right now to give us a 2-minute tidbit is former in charge, how do you say it, George? Agent in charge?
Assistant Director in charge of the New York office.
George Venizelos.
Yeah,
we love you, George.
The New York office for 4 years, George Venizelos. Tell us, does any of these people that work for U.S. senators that are talking on the phone in their cars, does any of them get vetted by the FBI? Do they have any kind of clearance?
Well, anybody who has any kind of clearance has to get vetted. Now, whether the driver has clearance, probably not. But the people who have the clearance, who have the knowledge information, should understand they shouldn't be talking about classified information in front of people. So that's the issue here. And
well, U.S. senators, governors, mayors, there's so many secrets going around.
And this one's an aide, too. By the way, just to fill everybody in, it's a 64-page indictment. It's Linda's son, 41 years old, happened today, got arrested. And she and her husband, they're saying that they acted as foreign agents for China. And again, this was an aide in the governor's office in New York, there for 10 years.
No, and a senior person.
Yes, exactly.
Person.
So that's the question, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, it's interesting because it's not the first time it happened. John talked about Washington. You had a congressman from California, Swalwell.
Yes.
Swalwell was removed.
Fang.
Right. He allegedly was sleeping with a spy.
She was like a fundraiser.
I saw that in a James Bond movie.
That's right. The
that's why we played the music.
Just played.
Right, that's why we picked it.
But Kevin McCarthy, was Speaker, to his credit, removed Swalwell from that Intelligence Committee and Homeland Security.
And I remember Kevin had made a statement.
And Kevin McCarthy said, if people saw the briefing that I got from the FBI, they wouldn't put this guy on any committee in Congress.
Yeah, what was he? And he ended up, by the way, being on the January 6th committee. Pelosi said he could stay on that.
And the reality is that the Chinese have been a threat to this country for the last 20 plus years. It's always been a high threat when it comes to counterintelligence. Now, the FBI is making some inroads now, quietly in their own little quiet way.
And they did a great job here, at least getting them.
A lot of arrests throughout the country this last year. If you start looking at the arrests they made, the Chinese are a priority, and they know no politics. They work both sides. They divided the country, and they protect themselves.
There's 1.4 billion Chinese.
Right.
There's so many of them. The Chinese say, "Well, you 5 million will concentrate on Democrats, and the other 5 million, you guys concentrate on Republicans."
And they go to the best schools.
Yeah,
right. They get the best jobs.
That's the other thing.
They're extremely smart.
And they said, what about the police stations in New York City, right under our eyes, the Chinese police stations?
Let's move on. Also, last night, there was a press release on George Santos.
Right.
What did it say?
George Santos announced that there was corruption out in Suffolk County, and he accused the county chairman of inappropriate. Jesse Garcia.
I talked to Jesse today. You know what I said to Jesse Garcia? If anybody, George Santos has not told the truth for 2 years or 5 years or 10 years.
Ever. How about ever?
Right.
George Santos has never told the truth. And anybody that believes George Santos
is a fool.
Could be a fool.
Yeah,
John, he's going to say anything and talk about anyone he can to try and save his own skin because he does not want to go to prison.
Right, he's trying to throw everybody under the bus.
I understand we have Professor Dershowitz on, but one more thing, an update on the poll. The update on the poll is
will Kamala Harris show up?
Going to show up at the debate. All right, the update is 54% of our listeners say no, she's not going to show up. 45% yes.
And they can still vote. Go to WABCRadio.com
and hit that button and vote, because my opinion, and I want to find out how Professor Dershowitz feels, that if she screws up real bad in the debate, she loses for sure.
It's a no-win situation.
It's a no-win. If she just gets sick and doesn't show up for the debate, I think she loses less votes.
The COVID excuse. The COVID excuse.
Let's go to the professor.